Leonardo da Vinci left us over 7,000 pages of his notebooks. Leonardo, one of the most brilliant men to have ever lived, diligently documented his inventions, experiments, and interests, which included painting, sculpting, architecture, science, music, mathematics, engineering, literature, anatomy, geology, astronomy, botany, history, and cartography. Just to name a few. Buried in one of his many notebooks dated from the 1490s is a to-do list, which has been translated. In the words of Leonardo himself, it is useful to constantly observe, note, and consider. What I love most about Da Vinci is that he was driven by curiosity, and it was this relentless curiosity that led him to all his great discoveries and inventions, and ultimately what made him the genius Renaissance man that we admire and study today. This curiosity is most evident in his notebooks, and more specifically, in his to-do lists. His task lists were not filled up with menial tasks or busy work, but instead an ambitious list of places to draw, calculations to make, experiments to conduct, and questions to ask. We can also see from his notebooks and in the to-do list that his mind would wander from one thing to another. On the same page of his notepad, you could find a draft of a letter, a sketch of a fascinating plant, and perhaps the dinner menu. So let's have a look at one of Leonardo's to-do lists. Have 2 boxes made to go on a pack saddle. See how the birds are nourished in their eggs. Inflate the lungs of a pig and observe whether they increase in width and length or increase in width while diminishing in length. Make trial of the actual flying machine over the water so that if you fall, you do not harm yourself. It should not be hard for you to stop sometimes and look into the stains of walls or ashes of a fire or clouds or mud or like places in which you consider them well. You may find really marvelous ideas. Which tendon causes the eyes to move so that one moves the other? What is sneezing? What is yawning? Ask the wife of Biagio Crivelli how the capon nurtures and hatches the eggs of the hen. An apprentice to do the models for me. Calculate the measurement of Milan and suburbs. Find a book that treats of Milan and its churches, which is to be had at the stationer's on the way to Cordosio. Discover the measurement of Corte Fescio, the courtyard in the Duke's Palace. Discover the measurement of the Castello, the Duke's Palace itself. Have the master of arithmetic to show you how to square a triangle. Get Messer Fazio, a professor of medicine and law in Pavia, to show you about proportion. Get the Brera Friar at the Benedictine monastery in Milan to show you De Ponderbus, a medieval text on mechanics. Talk to Gianni Ino, the bombardier, re the means by which the Tower of Ferrara is walled without loopholes. No one really knows what Da Vinci meant by this. Ask Benedetto Potinari, a Florentine merchant, by what means they go on ice in Flanders. Draw Milan. Ask Maestro Antonio how mortars are positioned on bastions by day or night. Examine the crossbow of Maestro Gianetto. Find a master of hydraulics and get him to tell you how to repair a lock, canal, and mill in the Lombard manner. Ask about the measurement of the sun. Try to get Vitellone, the medieval author of a text on optics, which is the library at Pavia, which deals with the mathematic. Obtain a skull. Get books on anatomy bound. Observe the holes in the substance of the brain. Describe the tongue of the woodpecker. Describe the jaw of a crocodile. Give measurement of a dead man using your finger as a unit. Observe the goose's foot. If it were always open or always closed, the creature would not be able to make any kind of movement. So these notebooks contain careful sketches and diagrams annotated with notes in 16th century Italian mirror writing, which reads in reverse from right to left. The mirror writing has caused quite a bit of speculation. Was Leonardo trying to ensure that only he could decipher his notes? So was he writing in code, or was it simply because he was left-handed and he found it easier to write from right to left so as not to smudge the ink? So what can we learn from Da Vinci's weird and wonderful to-do lists? Don't just write down the obligations and chores of your day. I mean, do that as well, or else they won't get done. But think bigger picture. Include things that you want to learn. Write down where you can learn it from. Maybe it's from a friend or acquaintance who is an expert in that field, or maybe it's an online mentor, or just good old Google. These learning tasks don't have to be huge, just things that spark your curiosity throughout the day. And just like Da Vinci's to-do lists, your questions don't have to be for some project or workload that you're working on. They can be seemingly unconnected, and just for the love of learning new things. It can be even a list of things that you want to observe in the world around you. In Walter Isaacson's biography, Leonardo da Vinci, the author notes over and over again, year after year, Leonardo lists things he must do and learn. Some involve the type of close observations most of us rarely pause to do. So, if Da Vinci is happy to travel 200 miles from Florence to Milan just to learn about mechanics because it interests him, what excuses do we have not to hop online and explore a new subject? Always carry a notebook. Leonardo da Vinci wasn't the only successful person to carry around a notebook. Isaac Newton, Beethoven, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Edison, John D. Rockefeller, and Richard Branson are all known for carrying with them a pocket notebook. And what's the reason? Well, Aristotle Onassis, the famous Greek shipping tycoon, explained it best. Always carry a notebook. Write everything down. When you have an idea, write it down. When you meet someone new, write down everything you know about them. That way you will know how much time they are worth. Ooh, harsh. When you hear something interesting, write it down. Writing it down will make you act upon it. If you don't write it down, you will forget it. That is $1 million lesson they don't teach you in business school. So, Leonardo actually probably didn't have a notebook. He most likely worked on loose sheets of paper, which he bought at one of Milan's many stationers' shops, which he carried about with him to record his observations. His papers were at some stage then folded into booklets and later bound, possibly under the ownership of the Spanish sculptor Pompeo Leone. Don't be afraid to set huge goals. Like draw Milan is an incredibly large and ambitious goal. But there's nothing stopping you from setting goals of this magnitude. What would have happened if Da Vinci let limiting beliefs and self-doubt sabotage him? What if he thought, no, I'm not an inventor. I can't invent things. I'm just gonna do art. That's all I'm allowed to do. I'm just gonna do art. No, he set big goals in a lot of different fields. Maybe you want to learn quantum mechanics or neuroscience or run a marathon or choreograph a dance. Just don't limit yourself. Let your imagination be free, kind of like a child. I think the biggest takeaway is just never stop being curious. And also, don't pigeonhole yourself. Don't you put yourself in a box. This is something I used to do. I used to think that I had to choose between entrepreneurship and creativity and art, But in actual fact, no, I can do it all. I can be a photographer, I can be a businesswoman, I can dance. And now in this day and age, we don't have to travel hundreds of miles to find something out. How much do we really know about the world around us? Maybe you're happy not to know how things work. Or maybe you're like Da Vinci and you are just immensely curious about everything. So yeah, I think we get so caught up in, what app to use, Notion versus Todoist. I myself fall into that trap. We shouldn't be so restricted in the way that we write to-do lists, in the way that we write things down, the way that we capture our thoughts. I think the free, wandering way in which Leonardo filled these notebooks is something we could definitely emulate in our own way, obviously.